All right, welcome to another episode of our MacroMentors Outlook 2023 series. I'm here today with Sara Medina. Sara, good to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, Arvin.
Very good. So Sara, like for our audience that doesn't know you yet, would you kindly kind of introduce yourself, like what you do and maybe what your background is?
Sure. So I'm from Portugal and based in Porto, in the north of Portugal. And I'm a member of the board of SPI. And SPI, we are a private company that my father established in 1996. He's the president. And he was inspired by the Green Book for Innovation from the European Commission. And before, he was linked to the University of Porto as a full professor. So from the beginning of SPI, we have very straight links with universities. So basically, we are a consulting company with 85 full-time consultants, locations in Portugal, the headquarters in Porto, other offices throughout Portugal. We are in China and the USA already for more than 20 years. And we also have a strong activity in Southeast Asia, in Latin America, and in Africa. Basically, we do projects that have a science and a technology component, and we work a lot across different sectors, from agro-food to biotechnology, ICT, nanotechnology, energy, machinery, so really across different sectors that have a science and a technology component. So we work a lot with the private sector companies, startups, SMEs, large companies, with universities, with the research institutes, business associations, business incubators, accelerators, and we also have an area dealing with the regional development, working with municipalities, right. And then at the international level, working with the European Commission, mainly with the Horizon Europe. It's the major program from the European Commission, from the Directorate General Research, Technology and Development. Also working with the DG Grow, DG Education and Culture, also DG Regio, and then with the World Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, African Development Bank, and other international donors.
Wow.
So I've been with SPI since 2003. Before I did my PhD in the US, in the University of Florida, in food and resource economics. And afterwards, I worked for Accenture, the large consulting company, for a couple of years. And since joining SPI, I've been involved mainly in the international area, working a lot with China, with Southeast Asia, more recently also with Africa. I've been also evaluator and a mentor of some programs from the European Commission. And I'm also now part of the THINC fellows together with Armin, and this has been a great journey and great to be in this group. Many thanks again.
So like you obviously, so that you are working with a lot of international organizations, like regional organizations, other private companies. You had a start in a consultancy, a very famous one, obviously. You did a PhD before, like. Can you take us like a little bit back? Like, when did you make the decision that you want to have this international consulting career and now pretty much, work in your own consultancy?
I think from the beginning, I lived when I was very young in the UK until I was 4 years old. I think the taste and the desire to work at the international level came a little bit from there, from the earlier roots. Then in my master's, I did a master's called the European Master's Degree in Food Studies with 21 other colleagues from 17 different countries. So I was exposed from the early to different cultures from different European countries, also from China, and so it was really very nice to get to know the international world. We traveled around Europe. We also went to Japan, to the US during this masters. And afterwards, going to the US, there I also had exposure to a lot of colleagues from Latin America, also from Europe and from Asia. And then actually, when I came to work in Portugal for Accenture, was mainly work in the Portuguese environment that didn't really suit me too much. And then I decided to join SPI in 2003. So I think the taste to work in the international environment came from when I was very young, and then from when I was exposed to the master's degree.
That's very interesting. And like when you say like, okay, so this taste, so let's say I'm a university student, I'm a young professional, I'm thinking of, getting more international exposure. Like what should I turn to? Like, like where should I start? How bold should I be and go out into the world? Like, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's very important to do internships. So I think if you can start from when you are young to do some internships, and they can be shorter, and they don't need to be too far from where you live. And I think that will start giving you the exposure to what is dealing with different cultures and living in a different country, because it's very different to visit a country for holidays and to really to live there. It's a completely different experience. And now from SPI, we also encourage having interns. Actually, we have right now interns from different countries. We have an agreement from with Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. So we receive interns from Singapore on a very regular basis. So we just had a lady that is originally from India studying in NTU, actually living, today is her last day. Another colleague will be coming actually from Singapore already next week. We have colleagues from Chile, from Brazil, from also Southeast Asia, Indonesia. So I think my suggestion, my recommendation would be to try to do internships and like that, get exposed to the international environment from early days.
So yeah, getting exposure to many things, right? Like probably in your 20s, that's a great time to get exposure to a lot before one kind of maybe like fully specializes, so to say. And obviously, like, having quite a journey you have been on, like doing now, have been working on so many projects. You got like exposure to, the whole world pretty much. I mean, so if you think like about your younger self, is there any kind of like, guidelines, any kind of frameworks, any kind of recommendations or principles that you say, wow, if I would have known that, life might have been easier for me. Like, is there anything that comes to mind?
I think it's important before you go somewhere that you understand where you are going, that you learn about the organization, for instance, that you are going to work for, to try to learn about the culture, so that you can do some homework, some preparation. I think that's important that you don't live too far from the place where you work. Otherwise, you'll be spending a lot of time just in every day will be very, very tiring. And for instance, I had experience when I was working in Lisbon for Accenture, I had to travel each day 3 hours, and I would arrive on Wednesday. I would be really, really dead. Didn't make sense. Although the place I was living was very nice, was Cascais, but was way too far from the office. So I would suggest to have some also interaction already with the colleagues, with the people that you are going to work with who is going to be your supervisor, so that you can get prepared. Also ask any preparation material before, any presentations, so that you get some preparation before you arrive to the new place, either the logistics and also the work that you are going to do, so that then not everything is 100% new, that you already have some preparation so that you feel more confident. I think it's important that you build your confidence before, and that can be done with homework if you are well prepared.
And like we talked before we started the recording quickly about Portugal and how it really has emerged now as, especially during the pandemic, as, you know, possibly definitely one of the major hubs in Europe for different technologies, but in general, I would say for talent overall. Like, why, like, where does it come from? Like, what did like Portugal, what is it is so attractive about, you know, for many people, like going to Portugal right now? Obviously there's the, you know, the weather and I guess great lifestyle, but what do you see, like, you know, is there anything else that we are kind of missing? Or like, you know, let's say I'm a, you know, young professional and like I'm thinking of getting international exposure. Obviously with this remote world now, you know, Portugal might be an interesting place to start. So what's the attraction here?
I think Portugal has different ingredients that are quite favorable for someone to settle here. I think the cost of living is still quite low in comparison with other European countries. The weather is very good, especially in the summer. But now the temperatures, although we have some rain now, temperatures are like 16 Celsius. We are on 23rd of December. People are very friendly. The food is very good. Actually, you can get very good fish because we are next to the ocean.
Right.
You can get also very good meat. If you are a vegetarian, you can also get veggie food. Everyone speaks excellent English, except the elder people that have French in school. Everyone really has a great domain of English. The transportation is very good, so you can move by bus, by train. You can also get the Uber or rent a car. And now the ecosystem for innovation and entrepreneurship has been developing a lot in the past years. I think the Web Summit contributed to that, but not only. And we have very good research being done also in universities. And that allowed for also the startups to develop themselves. A lot of startups from different countries come here to Portugal to settle or to spend some time. So I would encourage that you could come even from SPI. We can host you as interns for from 6 months to the time that you want. Also job positions. So I would say Portugal is definitely a nice country nowadays to come and to stay for a while.
Yeah, there's this energy in the air. Whenever I come to Lisbon, it's this entrepreneurial energy paired with international talent and great lifestyle at the same time. So I think it's just like a superb winning mix here. So, you know, coming to like our kind of outlook for 2023, or is there anything interesting that you see like for SPI, or like, you know, how you spend, like what you spend your time on that you think everyone should be really aware of?
I think in Portugal, we are going to have the Portugal 2030. That's the new funding scheme that will start in the beginning of next year. And this will allow, for instance, for startups to get funding, and there will be funding available for R&D activities, for digitalization, for internationalization, for cooperation with universities. So this is a concrete thing that will happen. Also, from Horizon Europe program that started already in 2000, already a couple of years ago, but will continue. And from Horizon Europe, you have really the possibilities under different areas like health, climate change, culture, digital, also food bioeconomy. And this is not from Portugal directly, but Portugal is also eligible. And from SPI, we participate in these specific calls that go until 2027. Also, the cooperation between Europe and Africa has been increasing. And now China, of course, is opening the doors again. So I think China is a market that is now opening again to the world. And we are already receiving requests for delegations from China that want to visit Europe and Portugal actually next year. So I think it's going to be a great year, 2023. I think from the cooperation at the international level will continue. Also, Latin America continues being a market of interest. We also have very good connections there, mainly with Brazil, but also other Latin American countries. So I would say it's a good year for all the entrepreneurs and for all the education system to continue developing, and the internationalization and all the ecosystem around science and technology and innovation.
So the science cooperation you're saying is really ramping up, and you said like you mentioned universities as well. So what's the mood in universities? Are getting like people now more entrepreneurial, or are they still want to work for banks and consultancies?
Yeah, I think the universities, the teaching, the way teaching is being conducted in the universities is changing.
Right.
It's becoming less really academic, that the teacher there just exposes material. Now, more practical exercises are being conducted also. The encouragement to deal with specific case studies. And also, of course, the internships that can be provided that universities are also now looking at and having cooperation with enterprises.
Right. So people are getting, in general, kind of probably more entrepreneurial. Yeah. Entrepreneurship is definitely an innovation. I guess it's also even more in the science field, right? Like there I see, I just like see it now, like this deep tech kind of angle seems to be like really kicking off in Europe right now. That's the impression that I get. Like, would you agree with that?
I would say deep tech is now also a kind of a trend and a hot topic, and we also focus on that. And we work also a lot with startups and companies that are looking at funding opportunities, and a number of them are from deep tech. Yes. We are also doing a study on the entrepreneurship level in Portugal and in Angola, and there we can also see what type of what entrepreneurs are looking at, and what are really the trends on the entrepreneurship, and also regarding the future.
So, what interesting trends or projects do you see right now that are developing?
We are involved in quite a number of them. We have one network called Enrich Centers, European Network of Research and Innovation Centers. We are involved in Latin America, in China, in Africa, and in the USA. And it basically encourages the cooperation, science, technology, and innovation between Europe and China, Europe and Africa, Europe and Latin America, and Europe and USA. And also the linkage and the connections between business incubators and accelerators in Europe, and also these different regions, helping startups and SMEs to internationalize, and also helping connect the organizations from these regions to come to Europe. This will continue in 2023, and this is actually one of the emblematic initiatives and projects that SPI is involved. We also are involved actually finalizing some work with the Southern African Development Community, building the digitalization strategy for Africa. Then these studies on entrepreneurship that we are conducting, the global entrepreneurship monitoring in Portugal and also in Angola. Also, we have NGI, Next Generation Internet researchers, that we are able to host startups in the US for some time, either in private companies or in universities. And this is also another concrete opportunity that is also open for all the entrepreneurs, and also for the people, professors linked to universities.
And since your focus is very much on the science and the technology aspect, right? So do you see do you see this happening, or do you see interest something that is changing, or something that is some trends like in different industries and business models? Like, what industries are we talking? What are some takeaways of for example, the studies that you mentioned, right? Like, do you have anything there that like stood out to you when you saw that, and like, made you kind of, that's interesting?
I would say all the digital area, the digitalization is really picking up. And I just came from Nairobi a few weeks ago, and I could say there that the trends also on startups, that we had some pitching between startups linking with investors, and there were a lot of digital startups that had specific apps, specific platforms. Also calls that now are open from the Portuguese government towards supporting all these startups in the digital world. The area of health is also, I think, quite trendy, and also the food, but more linked also with the green economy part, and all this eco, and also the area of course, climate change. That's also one of the priorities. I think these are the trends that I could point out for next year.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you mentioned like food as well. Like, not only did you do obviously your PhD in it, but there was recently a lot of food price volatility. So I guess there might be quite a few opportunities for companies going into it and trying to, bring some innovation from food processing, logistics. It seems to me still quite an old-fashioned, so to say, like industry. Would you agree with that, or?
Yes, I think there is still a lot that can be done in food, because a commodity can really be transformed. And you see the example of coffee that was able to expand from a commodity to a product that is now has multiple options to be drank and to be tasted. So I think the food and the evolution of food, and what you can do with food, also the organic food and so on, there is a lot that can be done, and there are many research institutes, universities just focused on that, and there are concrete opportunities, mainly from Horizon Europe, on funding for projects that can really develop innovative products around food.
Interesting. And so, Sara, let's imagine I'm a young professional, I'm a graduate, I'm very, very interested of what you were just telling us, what kind of new opportunities exist out there, the collaboration from pretty much anywhere in the world and Europe. And so I come to you, what would you what advice would you give me? Obviously, it's always like very specific, but how could you help people when they, for example, book a call with you on MacroMentors? Like, what can they expect?
I can help with connections, because I know a lot of people. So I can help with connections all over the world, from China to USA, Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia. And I think the connections end up being very important for anything that you do, if you have the right contact, because you can know another organization if you don't have a contact within the organization. It takes you a lot of time to dig in and to be able to talk with the person that can give you the information that you want. Of course, we can host here internships in Porto, in Portugal. We can help also with access to funding, both from Portugal government and from the European Commission, Horizon Europe. And we can also help on links with investors, because we are also linked to some investment funds, and we can also help on links with investors. And of course, internationalization strategies.
That's very interesting. And Sara, if people want to find more about you, about your work, about SPI, like where can they find you and where can they get more information?
Yeah, so from my email, saramedina@spi.pt, my WeChat, tennis, because I play tennis since I'm small, so tennis is one of my passions. Tennis, TNNIS, tennis 18 Sara, that's my WeChat. I can also be found in LinkedIn, and my WhatsApp 351 from Portugal 351.
Okay, maybe no phone numbers on.
Okay,
okay, all right. Okay, perfect. Sara, thank you so much for your time today. I think that was really interesting. We covered quite a lot from like going for a fully international career, working with people around the world, from consultancies to international organizations, giving career advice to young people who want to start out, and talking about what's going on. There seems to be a lot going on in the startup, innovation, science and tech field these days, for sure. So thank you so much again. And we will definitely have another conversation soon.